That was my mission to start, was solving this problem for myself and solving this problem for other women to help make them their most confident selves.
Hi, welcome to Resonate, Conversations and Life Lessons from Rancho La Puerta. I'm Barry. Today I'm coming to you from this beautiful outdoor treatment area. This is a beautiful space. We also have 3 spas at the ranch and a wide offering of spa services to nourish your body. We believe that self-care is very important to the well-being of a person. Whether you're having a more classic massage, reflexology, a facial, it doesn't matter. You won't regret the time you spend taking care of yourself. Here at the ranch, we believe that what we put on the outside of our bodies eventually makes it to the inside, so it's important. If you think about it, the skin is the largest organ on the body. So it makes sense what you put on your skin eventually ends up on the inside. Here at the ranch, we are fortunate to live in a beautiful garden, and many of the products that we use in our spa treatments come from this very land. My guest today, Sarah Moret, is the CEO and founder of a company called Curie, which has natural deodorant and skincare products. Sarah realized how important it was to exercise regularly and eat organically. But then she also realized that we put a lot of synthetic and harmful chemicals on our skin. She read somewhere how the aluminum in deodorant could create a toxic buildup in the body. So she started searching for deodorants that were organic and healthy. When she couldn't find one that satisfied her, she decided to create one on her own. Using the power of manifestation, visualization, and positivity, Sarah was able to create a company with her savings of $12,000 that is now worth $20 million. What impresses me about Sarah is beyond her financial success. It's her belief that it doesn't matter what you think you can do it if you think you can do it. Hey, Sarah, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
You too. I'm so excited.
Where are you joining me from today?
I'm in San Diego, lovely San Diego.
And you're going to be visiting the ranch and presenting quite soon.
I am going to the ranch in one day, 24 hours.
That's awesome. We're excited. So Sarah, you have a successful business. You started with $12,000 in your savings, and I believe your business is worth like $20 million now or something like that. And
something around that.
And you have a really great successful Shark Tank story. And I want to talk about all that stuff. But what I'm really interested in is the mindset. As I'm doing research on you and studying you before I do my podcast, here's the words that come up to me when I look at you and hear what you've said.
Oh, I'm excited to hear.
Tenacity.
Yes.
Resilience. Not taking rejection and no's. Perfectionism, not. And there's no such thing as market saturation. So those are things that I really took away that I found awesome about you. So I want to talk about those things, and then we'll go talk about the other things. So tenacity, tell me how you think that word fits you.
Yeah, I think so I've presented at the ranch before a few times. And the first time that I presented, my presentation at the ranch is all about, my business and my journey starting Curie. But most importantly, the impact that manifestation and mindset has had on my success. And so I go through, my whole journey, my whole story, and talk about all the shifts in my mindset that I had to make along the way in order to get where I am. And the first time I presented, a woman came up to me after my presentation and she was like, one word I would use to describe it, you should rename this presentation. You should rename your company to tenacity because are. Yeah, she's like, you are a living, breathing example of tenacity. And I loved that. I really took that to heart. And I do think that is probably the biggest reason that I'm still here today, 5.5 years later, after
Right.
starting a business, bootstrapping it, having so many points along the way that I could have quit and could have thrown in the towel and didn't. I really think it's that tenacity that has kept me going and has also been a muscle that I've had to build. I don't think I had that day one.
How does one build that? Is it just by going, and not taking no for an answer?
Yeah, I think first is just having a really firm belief in what you're doing. Since I started Curie, I've been extremely mission driven. I think that's been a big of my success. I think if had I started a business just because I want to make money, I probably would have quit at some point along the way because it's a really hard way to make money. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Starting a business, it seems from the outside as this fun, glamorous way. You see these people like Sarah Blakely that become self-made billionaires, and you're like, that's a great way. That's easy. Why can't I do that?
Right.
But it's really really challenging and
Right. Yeah.
mentally challenging because you
Right.
are going to face any entrepreneur, even the most successful, have faced a lot of rejection and a lot of self-doubt. And so you have to go into it with a really strong mission and really firm belief in what you're doing, or you're just not going to have the energy to get through all those obstacles. So I think that's the number one. And then number two is just in terms of how do you build that tenacity, I do think it is like a muscle that gets stronger. So in the very beginning, early days of Curie, like as you know, our top selling product and our very first product was our aluminum free deodorant. Actually, I always have it on my desk just in
That's
case.
awesome. Yeah.
But our aluminum free deodorant was our very first and only product for many years. And there were so many, when you're manufacturing a physical product, there are so many things that can go wrong. We had in the early days, manufacturing issues that caused our products to melt, or the cocoa butter came crystallized and was
Right.
scraping people's skin when they put it on. Or one time our deodorant tubes arrived and the caps were too big and didn't fit on the component. So there's so many things that can go wrong, and everything went wrong in those first, I would say, 12 to 18 months. And that just built up in the very beginning. I would freak out. Anything that went wrong, I would freak out. Or if we had a bad customer experience, I would panic and get really down on myself. Or if we had, anything that went wrong, I just didn't have that tolerance built up. And I think over time, you build that tolerance, and that's how you build that tenacity. And now, 5.5 years later, throw me any problem, like I know I can
Right.
get through it because I've been through so
Yeah.
much at this point and been through so much adversity that you do strengthen that muscle.
Well, I would imagine that some people, when they're confronted with those kind of big issues, everything going wrong, a lot of people would throw in the towel at some point. Like, this isn't worth it. This isn't going to work. So, what is the thing that made you not throw in the towel, especially if everything goes wrong?
Yeah. And there have been points that everything has gone wrong. I mean, COVID was this is in my presentation at Rancho La Puerta. COVID, it was people stopped buying deodorant when the COVID lockdown started because they were at home, and I guess they were showering more or something. They didn't think they needed deodorant. So our sales fell off a cliff at the beginning of COVID. There's been many times where it's,
Right.
one thing goes wrong and then three things go
Right.
wrong. So I think what stopped me in those during those times from throwing in the towel was, again, just like a strong belief in what I was doing. I've always really approached this business not as a means to get rich and get famous and go on Shark Tank and be on the cover
Right.
of magazines. It was really, I started the business out of a personal need. I needed an aluminum-free deodorant that worked for me. I wanted to use cleaner, safer products. Couldn't find anything that worked. At the time, I was living a really, really busy, active lifestyle with my career and also running marathons. And so I wanted to make these healthier swaps to cleaner, more safer, natural products. I started to learn all about parabens and endocrine disrupting ingredients that are in a lot of the conventional drugstore products I was using. I was like, I don't want to use that. But all the alternatives kind of felt like I was making a sacrifice, especially when it came to deodorant. I tried every aluminum free deodorant, and by 11 o'clock, I stunk. So it was a struggle for me. And so the company was born out of a personal struggle. I wanted to solve it for myself, but also for others, because deodorant, like your underarms, are a key component to your confidence. Like we don't think about you don't think about your armpits all the time unless you have an issue with them. But that is a key component to your confidence. When you're out presenting, at Rancho La Puerta, or you're on a date, or you're hanging out with friends and you have BO or pit stains, like that's always going to be top of mind. And that was always something I struggled with. I used to not be able to wear gray shirts or silk shirts because I knew I was going to have big sweat stains. Like this was back when I was just starting my career in my 20s. And I would always have my arms down, self conscious. So you're not going to walk into a room your most confident self when you're dealing with pit problems, whether it's BO or redness or
Right.
irritation or stains. And so that was my mission to start, was solving this problem for myself and solving this problem for other women to help make them their most confident selves and create something better than what was out there. And so what really kept me going when all things were going wrong, which happened all the time, was our customers. Like we have most of my customers, especially in the early days, were people like me. They were women, in their 20s, 30s, 40s that had busy, active lives, go, go, go. We call them humans in motion, whether they're busy moms dropping kids off or, busy career women, and supporting them and providing a product that was better than what was out there, and then getting to hear the impact that we were making on their lives, whether it be through social media or through our website reviews. Or I used to, even in the early days, I would do Zoom and like FaceTime phone calls with customers that really were super fans and ask them a bunch of questions. And so getting to see that impact we were having and that the product worked and that people loved it, that made it really hard to throw
Yeah.
in the towel. I think
Yeah.
having that, knowing that we were doing something that mattered,
Right.
it
Right.
made it really easy to just keep going through those hard times.
I believe that, and you already talked about this, but I think that purpose has to come first. And then
Yeah.
if you're doing it with a purpose and a desire, then everything else falls into place. But you have to really believe in what you're doing. And I don't think you probably woke up when you were a teenager and said, you know what, I'm going to create aluminum-free deodorant. So it was yours
I
came based.
love armpits. Yeah, no, it was never, armpits were never my passion.
Yeah, well, you've almost talked me into wearing deodorant again now since the pandemic. But so tell me, you use manifestation, but when did you get into manifestation? Was that during the course of starting this business, or were you always someone who was? Because I read law of attraction, manifestation. I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff. But I always have been. Were you always, or did that something that you learned along the way?
So I was not always interested in manifestation. I don't even think I knew what manifestation was until probably 5 years ago. But I was manifesting before that. I just didn't really have a name for what I
For
was
what?
doing. So I've always journaled. I've always kept a journal ever since I was probably 12 years old. I've had journals. I actually keep them all. I have like stacks and stacks of full journals. And journaling for me has kind of evolved over the years. When I was younger, it was, my middle school years, it was talking about what I was going through in my life. It was my friends and, you know, all the middle school problems. In high school, I would journal, if I had big events happening or whatnot. It was more documenting what
Right.
was happening in my life. And then somewhere along the way, I want to say in my 20s, it kind of, my journaling shifted from me documenting things happening in my life to kind of like self therapy and writing down what was it that I was anxious about, what was it that I was sad about, what was I dealing with. And it was really cool. It's cool to look back through my journals because I would write these things down like, oh, I'm so upset, I'm so sad about this, blah blah blah. And then by the end of the journal entry, I'd be like giving myself a pep talk or like giving myself advice, and I would kind of help solve whatever problem I had or whatever it is I was going through. And so journaling became very therapeutic. It still is for me, a form of therapy and a way to just center my mind and, help myself process and get through things. And a lot of those things, as I, started my business, a lot of those things that were really top of mind that were making me anxious or making me scared were related to the company. And I would write down, okay, what am I dealing with? What are these problems? And then again, by the end of the entry, I'd have solutions and I'd be writing those down and I'd be like, you can do this. And I'd literally start
Right.
writing it like to myself, like, you've got
Yeah.
this. You know how to solve this.
Yeah.
You've been through problems before. And so kind of getting into that like pep talk territory. And that kind of naturally evolved to me writing down what was going to happen. So I would write down, and again, this is before I even knew what manifestation was. I would write, you are going to solve this problem. You are going to wake up next week and XYZ. You are going to sell out on QVC when you go on air for the first time next week. You are going to get a deal on Shark Tank. You are going to walk away proudly. So I would write these things down as if they were a done deal and they were going
Right.
to happen, and it was the things that I like really desired. And I would try to be as detailed as possible
Right.
about what was going to happen. And I started to I like have chills right now because I like started to go back and I would like write little notes. I'd be like, yep, that happened. Check.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yep, that happened. Check. And realize like this is a really powerful way to just, I think, direct like the energy into your life towards what you want and make it really, really clear to yourself, to the universe, whatever higher powers are out there, what it is you want. And somewhere along the way, I started reading and listening to podcasts and realized, oh, I've been manifesting. This is
Right.
manifestation.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a natural transition from your journaling to your journaling turned into like manifestation journaling.
Yeah.
You also use visualization because I can remember one of the
Oh,
podcasts I
yeah.
listened to,
Yeah.
you were talking about how you had visualized what the Shark Tank stage, what everything was going to be to the extent that when you went in there, it was what you were expecting. So it took away some of the anxiety that would have been there.
Yeah. That visualization, manifestation, I'm not sure the difference, but I definitely do both. To me, they're the same thing. Like I visualize exactly what
Right.
outcome I want. So some examples like with Shark Tank or QVC, I got on QVC 2021.
Uh-huh.
Shark Tank was 2022. With both of those opportunities, it was such a big deal. And I really put a lot of my time and energy into the preparation and visualizing the result that I wanted. And I went so far as not only imagining the results that I wanted, but when I was getting ready, getting prepped for QVC, my husband and I like sat in our kitchen the night before I went on air for the first time, and we role played, and he was the host. I think he even did like the like girly like QVC host voice. He was the host, and I was, Sarah, like presenting Curie.
Right.
And we went through the whole thing, and I went through all my talking points. It was a way to just practice my talking points. And then at the end, he goes, oh my gosh, Sarah, we're sold out. And, you sold out on air. And I got chills and was like, oh my gosh, like I've imagined and felt what it felt like and
Yeah.
visualized what that moment would be like if I actually did sell out my first time on QVC. And that was like a really cool moment to feel what that would feel like. And I, over the next 24 hours, just visualize that again and again and again and
Right.
again, visualize myself just nailing every talking point,
Right.
visualize the exciting moment when she tells me that we sold out and exceeded our goal, and then it happened the next day, and did the same thing with Shark Tank and have done the same thing since. Even, right now I'm pregnant, and it took us a little longer than we wanted it to get pregnant, and one of the things that I did was walk into what is now the baby's nursery and close my eyes and visualize it as a nursery and visualize a crib and a baby and visualize what that would feel like. So I think visualization and manifestation for me kind of go hand in hand.
Rachel, I'm thinking we need to do another trip. Where should we go?
Rancho La Puerta.
Of course.
There's a reason that their motto is siempre mejor, always better.
Yeah.
Because they're better than any other place in the entire world. I have been to a lot of places. Remember we went to Israel that one year? We've traveled a lot of places. I have never been to anywhere in the entire world that is as special and as magical and as amazing as Rancho La Puerta.
What I love about the ranch, like we're twin sisters, and we come here every year with our mom.
Every
and
year.
It's nice because we can all come together, and families, they fight. And it's nice because there's something for everyone.
We never fight at the ranch.
No, there's ways that we can go off and do our own thing. Rachel loves the hike.
I love to hike.
I love the yoga classes. My mom loves the specialty stuff. She learned Mahjong one year, and now she does that. She has a whole group of friends.
They
back
even
home
have
where
that
she does
aerial
that,
yoga in the silks.
Yeah, but there's always something for everyone, and every time we come, there's something new.
Always something new to try. They're always bringing the guest speakers.
This year, we've been doing synchronized swim with me and my mom, and Rachel's been there to cheer us.
Synchronized swim, that's been fun. I've never seen mom laugh or have so much more fun in my entire life.
Well, and we're not a family of swimmers, but
This place is very special to us because we only see each other about once a year, and we're twin sisters. So we only meet at Rancho La Puerta.
yeah, I think we need to book our trip.
It's so special. This place is so near and dear to my heart, and I want to die and be buried in the ranch here. Is that possible?
Take that out. Cut that.
No. I want to get married here. Do y'all do weddings here?
I hope you're enjoying today's podcast as much as I am. To learn more about our wonderful presenters and exciting weeks coming up at the ranch, go to rancholapuerta.com and check out our events calendar. Make sure to mention the podcast when making your reservation to take advantage of a special offer. Some restrictions may apply. One of the other things I found interesting is that sometimes the law of manifestation or the law of attraction is, you know what you want, right? You believe in and then you leave it up to the universe to provide the vehicle. And I remember you saying that you had kind of, in a way, given up on Shark Tank because they had put you aside, but you knew that you didn't need them. You were going to be successful anyways, and then they call.
Yes.
So to me, that's such a good example of how it works. You set the intention, you know what you want, and then the universe provides it for you. So tell them a little bit about that. The story.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And also it's not always the way that you had imagined.
Thought it would be, right.
Yeah, it's not the how, it's the what is the outcome you want. And sometimes you go zig and zag and with Shark Tank, this is it was a wild story. I could tell this story. I could take hours telling the story, but what happened in a quick nutshell was I applied to be on Shark Tank 2021, got rejected. They, I went through the whole process. The first step is you apply online, then you submit a video. I got through the video submission. The producers were really excited, and then, ended up not making it on the show. And after that point, they said, hey, like we do encourage you to apply again next year. Sometimes, the executive producer just is looking for certain types of businesses, and it's a timing thing. So try again next year. So I did. I set a calendar reminder to try again the next year and applied again online, same process. And this was 2022. Again, went through the video submission process and finally got on the show and was so excited. This was, at the time, my business was much, much, much smaller than it is today. And this was a huge I saw this as like a huge life-changing, game-changing opportunity and treated it as such. I joke that I prepared for Shark Tank like I was going to the Olympics. Like
Right.
my every moment was consumed by my Shark Tank prep. And there I watched every episode. I took notes. I had a whole spreadsheet of, all the different deal terms and all this stuff, all the questions the sharks ask. I just prepared like crazy for Shark Tank and was so ready. I was supposed to film in July, was so ready to go. I had bought everything for my set. And the night before I was supposed to film, I was supposed to be there at 6 a.m. on a Monday morning. Sunday night, the producers call me and say, Sarah, we're so sorry, but we have to pull you from the schedule. And what happened, there was a big scheduling conflict due to some flight delays because I was living in LA at the time and I was 15 minutes from the studio. They're like, we're going to have to boot you from the schedule. We'll try to reschedule you though, for another day in this filming window, but no guarantees. And it was like being left at the altar. Like it was the rug ripped out from under me. I was completely devastated. Just that to just prepare for something and to be so excited about it and ready, and then have that rug ripped out from under you the night before was just, it really made me depressed. It made me really, really sad for like a long time. And I got really discouraged. I remember having a lot of moments right after that where I was like, I don't know if I want to continue. At the time, I didn't really see how to continue to grow my business. Like to me, I'd put all my hopes and dreams into Shark Tank being this huge moment for us. And then poof, it was gone. And I just wanted to give up. And I spent that summer between, July was when I was supposed to film, spent that summer just trying to pick myself back up and keep growing my business. And September comes along. They do 2 filming windows, one in July, one in September. September comes along, second filming window. Producers call me and say, hey, Sarah, we're going to put you on the standby list for the September filming. Stay by your phone these dates. And if we have time, we'll call you and maybe you can come film. And so I was hopefully optimistic that I would make it on, but also, trying to protect myself. So I didn't really practice that much and didn't really get my hopes up. The last day of the filming window was when I got the call from the producers. I was on a hike with my husband, the top of Griffith Park Observatory, which is 30 minutes from the parking lot and 40 minutes from my apartment in Santa Monica at the time. Got the call. Hey, Sarah, we've got time for you to film, but you have to be here it was 1:00 when she called, 1:30 maybe. You have to be here by 4 at the Sony studios, ready to film at 4. And it was crazy. My husband and I ran down the mountain, jumped in the car, got home, I think at like 3:15, and I didn't even shower. I did my makeup in the passenger seat of his car for Shark Tank and got dropped at Sony Studios like right at 4:00, and boom, was pitching the sharks 5 minutes later. It was crazy. not how I imagined it would go.
You didn't have time to be nervous that way, right?
I
Just
didn't. No, it actually worked. And I thrive in high pressure situations. Like
Mhm.
I've always been the
Good thing
kind
you
of
have a
person
good
that
deodorant.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
like the kind of person who's always, waited till the night before the test to study. Like I do
Right,
love that
right,
pressure. So
right.
it worked out well for me.
I can't help noticing you're kind of infectious, positive, happy person.
Thank you.
Does that come from your upbringing? Does that start early?
You have to ask my parents. I don't know.
I do remember reading somewhere that you had said that your dad was always super supportive of whatever you wanted to do. It didn't
Yes.
matter. He was always
Yeah.
there behind you. So
Yeah. Yeah, my parents both have always been really I had a wonderful childhood, had wonderful parents that gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of encouragement. Like you said, my dad was really always encouraging. Growing up was the kind of dad as a young girl, that you kind of want every young girl to have, who's like,
right,
sky's the limit. You can do anything. You can be anything.
right,
Always really encouraged me to go after whatever it is I was passionate about and would help me see that he always had this belief that I should do something that I should try to turn my passion into a career. So I think he instilled that in me. Like I remember as a kid, I loved monkeys and was really into monkeys. And my dad being like, one day, like you could go to Africa and start a sanctuary. You could be the next Jane Goodall. And he was always helping me
yeah,
try to figure out how to turn these little, kid passion things into this. You could actually turn this into a career, and here's how. And so I do attribute a lot of that to my parents and just being really really supportive and encouraging. I
right.
was really lucky growing up to have that. But in terms of the positivity, I don't know where that came from. I think I've always been pretty positive and optimistic person. And somehow even, over the years that it hasn't changed.
I haven't owned a TV for 25 years, and I have never watched Shark Tank, but I did watch on YouTube your episode, right? And I was
Yes, you
just
can see
like,
it on YouTube.
you came out like an explosion to me, and it was just like nothing they could say was going to phase you. You were just full of positivity and
Thank you.
reworking everything, and I was so impressed. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
you should like bottle that and sell that. I would buy it.
That I do think that energy though, that you like you said, you came out just like a force.
Yeah,
That I think that, and again, this is what you were saying about you put things into the universe and sometimes you get them, but sometimes it's not the way you envisioned.
right.
I
The
think
hows
had
sometimes.
I filmed back in July when I was supposed to, that 6 a.m. call time on Monday morning, I probably would have sat in a trailer for hours waiting to get called, getting nervous and in my head.
Right,
I
right,
think that what happened was the best possible thing because I did not have 1 second to get nervous. I was high on adrenaline. My energy levels were just through the roof.
right.
It was so exciting that,
Yeah.
getting whisked in a golf cart right to set and then pushed out there. I was another level of it was an out of body experience.
Right.
And I think that the circumstances around my filming helped me just get in the zone. And like you said, there was nothing those sharks could have said to shake my belief in myself and my business. And that showed.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe you're really intimidated and nervous to be on my little show, but have that same energy right now. I mean, it's like,
Thank you.
wow, it's awesome. Now tell me the name of your company, and I love the story of how you got the name of your company.
Yeah. So my company is called Curie, Curie. And like I said, we sell clean body care products. We started with deodorant. Now we have a line of clean, better body basics like deodorant, soaps, lotions, etc. And when I started the company, now we do have a large male customer base. But when we got started, I started the company for women, and I wanted to name my business after, I wanted it to be something meaningful. And so I started to think about women in history that were really inspiring. I wanted it to, we were a brand for humans in motion, for boundary, breaker women breaking boundaries and doing incredible things. So who could be, what is a great name that could like lend to that? And I did a book report actually on Marie Curie in elementary school. So I had
Oh,
her in the back of my mind. If you aren't familiar with Marie Curie, anyone listening, she was a famous physicist and chemist in the 1800s. So this was a time when women were, homemakers. They weren't even getting an education. And, not only did she get an education, but she started her own lab, was the first woman to ever win a Nobel Prize and the only person to ever win a Nobel Prize in two different sciences. She made some discoveries that led to chemotherapy, that led to radiation, X-ray machines. She's truly, truly was a trailblazer in a time when women weren't doing this. And she persevered and broke boundaries. And I was just really inspired by her. And I thought that that was a great,
right,
homage to kind of what we were trying to help
right,
our
right.
customers accomplish.
One other thing that I've heard you say, and I also love this because I think this stops a lot of people when we have an idea, when we have a dream. You look out there and you're like, well, that's been done. That person's already done it, and that person's already done it. And well, how many aluminum-free deodorants are there out there already? Like, but I love how you said, that you can't, you know, throw all your towels onto that hanger because you don't know. You can do it different. You
Yeah,
can put your signature on it. It can be something different.
totally. And I had that was one of my big, fears going into Shark Tank was, and for many years, I didn't even apply to Shark Tank because I was like, I didn't invent anything. I'm not doing anything that special or unique. I just made a better version of something that was out there. And kind of I was a little self conscious about that, honestly, going into Shark Tank. I'm like, they're not going to want to invest. Like most of the people on Shark Tank invented something or, have a patent for some new crazy thing. Who am I to go on to this show? And I think I'm a good example of, starting a great business is just solving a problem and a need
Yeah,
that a group of people have. And that
right,
doesn't always need to be some novel new invention. It could just be putting your own spin on something that exists and making something better than what's already out there. And ultimately it's about solving problems. Like if you're
yeah.
solving someone's problem that isn't already being solved, you've got a business.
That's great advice. Is there another piece of advice you'd give someone who has an idea or a dream?
That wants to start a business.
Well, or wants to do something with their dream, like,
Yeah, that wants
be
to.
a
Okay.
rock star.
I think that, yeah, my advice now, 5.5 years in, is patience. Like I think that myself and I do a lot of mentoring of other up and coming entrepreneurs. And I think one of the things in common in the early days of entrepreneurship or even the early days of whatever dream you have, even if it is to become a rock star, and I'm sure Deborah went through this too. Like everyone starts something and nobody actually believes it's going to take as much time as it does. Like you
Yeah,
start something and you're so impatient because everyone thinks that everything's going to happen so quickly. And I did. I thought we're going to be the success, a huge success story within a year, of course. And now it's taken us 5.5 years to get to get here. And that's definitely a lot longer than I anticipated it would take.
right,
And the patient, like I think a lot of people starting out don't have that
right,
patience and get really discouraged when, we were a year in and I was nowhere near where I thought I would be in the
right,
business. And that was really discouraging. So I
right.
think patience, the overnight success stories that you hear about in the news and on TV, like those are the outliers. Most businesses, most dreams, like take a long time. And so give yourself grace and give yourself time and, know that, like you said, sometimes you're going to zig and zag and it's not going to be the path that you envisioned, but you got to kind of have some patience.
Last question, promise. So how do you maintain work-life balance? Are there any things that you do on a daily basis for you? Because to have your energy level, and I mean, I'm looking at you and you're 6 months pregnant and you seem like the Energizer bunny to me. So what is it that you do and how do you balance that?
Great question. I do think I have good work-life balance. I don't work on weekends really. I take vacations. I just got back from a vacation in Hawaii. I'm about to go to Rancho La Puerta where I'm going to disconnect and not be on my laptop the whole time. So I do give myself a lot of time, vacation time and time away from my computer. I don't work crazy hours. I don't work on weekends. And so I would say I do have good work-life balance, but that being said, I am always thinking about my business, even when I'm at the ranch, I'm maybe thinking, I'm not thinking about my to-do list, but I'm thinking vision, like what do I want my life, what do I want the business to look like, et cetera. So it is always on my mind and Curie is part of me. It's not something, it's not my job. It is very much part of my life. So it is hard when you own a business to have work-life balance. But I just think there's so many things that I enjoy doing.
And I mean, it sounds like, if you enjoy what you do, then it's not work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that word work. But do you probably still journal? And I would think that's reflective and meditative.
I do.
Do you? And you probably exercise and do things that take care of yourself.
Exercise a lot. Yep. I do always make time for exercise, fitness, spending time outdoors. My husband it helps a lot being married to somebody that is also really active and wants to do things. Like he kind of drags me out even when I'm really busy and in it. He'll be like, let's go on a hike. Oh, I found this new restaurant. Let's go here. So I think if I was single, I used to work a lot more hours when I was single. But now having, a husband who's really, active, excited, on the go, wants to do things, he pulls me out, keeps me grounded, and that way I'm sure having a baby will that'll be
I was going to say
more true.
I have a daughter, so just wait, Sarah.
I know. I still haven't quite figured out how entrepreneurship and motherhood is going to coexist, but I'll figure it out.
You'll journal about it and it'll come up.
Yes.
It'll
but
work
journaling is still a huge part of my life. And I've always just been pretty consistent with that.
Well, great. Thank you so much for taking the time. I look forward to seeing you at the ranch next week.
I know. I'm so excited.
And I know a busy schedule, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
See you soon. One of the things I loved about visiting with Sarah today is you can just tell she's someone full of joy and full of passion, someone you'd want to hang out with. Sarah found a need, turned it into a purpose and a passion, and now has a successful business based on that. Sarah pointed out that the difference between people that have dreams and the people that turn them into realities is having the guts to go for them. Having the guts to handle all the rejection, all the no's, all the setbacks, and have the resilience to keep going because you believe in your purpose. The why is more important than the how. Once you know why you're doing what you're doing, doors open, opportunities come along. The universe gives you the how, and you might not know where it's coming from. The most important thing is that you believe in your dream and your idea and believe that it'll make a difference. This is Barry wishing you health, daily joy, and purpose and passion in your life.